Morning, welcome to our channel. We appreciate each and every one of you. Welcome to YoutubeMount3. This is brought to you by Noble Gold. The link will be below. What happens when you house more than 1,000 refugees on a cruise ship? During the New York City summer scramble to find beds for a surge for migrants, Mayor Eric Adams, the man who's fighting a rat-infested building charge, Major Eric proposed housing people on cruise ships and building a tent city in Randall's Island and repurposing the two Midtown hotels. Well, migrant has dropped significantly. There are no more migrants coming into this country. This is a recent film of thousands and thousands of migrants immigrating into the United States. This is the caravan that's coming into the United States. Immigration has slowed. No, we need 650 million. We need, in North America, according to the UN, 650 million refugees. That means 350 million in America, 50 million in Canada, and 150 in Mexico. This is the migrants coming into America to destroy our budget and destroy our fiscal economy. But Mayor Eric Adams says, oh no, migrants have dropped significantly. That guy with a rat-infested charge because he owns buildings and they're rat-infested. So he says, no, there's no more migrants coming into the country, but that doesn't mean it's completely gone away. The Dutch city of Rotterdam was the first to house Ukrainian refugees on a cruise ship this year during a 6-month charter that concluded in mid-September. Edinburgh began housing Ukrainian refugees on a cruise ship in July. Of course, the Dutch city won't have any food for them because the Queen is buying all the farmland to kill the people. And Glasgow announced a similar plan in September. Why else would you buy the farmland and shut it down? If we're on the verge of starvation with a food source, why would you buy farms and shut them down other than to starve people to death? Last month, the city of Amsterdam chartered a cruise ship to house 1,000 migrants. Well, in America, they get $4,000 per homeless per month, so that would be easy to do. A cruise ship is $2,400 per room per month. So $4,000, $2,800, yeah, they could house them and feed them and clothe them. UK officials also weighing the option for using cruise ships to accommodate a surge of asylum seekers. Now, international law says when you come in, you must seek asylum in the next country you enter. You can't go from Iraq to Rotterdam and say, I'm a refugee. You can't say I'm an asylum seeker. If you go from Nicaragua, you got to go to the next country. You can't be an asylum seeker in America. But Biden has disobeyed federal and state laws. The idea of wealthy city putting displaced people on boats feels like it pretty weird, actually. They can't make room for them on land. But the officials who manage the Rotterdam Charter, or even refugee rights advocates who witnessed it, told me the cruise ship was surprisingly effective short-term solution with a few caveats. Now remember, all of you in Amsterdam, the Dutch city in Holland, you're paying for these refugees because the United States is funding the war and has terminated the lives of almost 400 Ukrainians, 400,000. Normally, asylum seekers who land in the Netherlands are sent to the country's unsafe, overcrowded migrant processing center in the rural northern village of Ter Apel. Syrian, Afghan, Somalian, and Nigerian, there we go. Somalia black Muslim refugees coming into Europe as they try to kill the white population and make it black. That's what the World Economic Forum just said. Over the summer, the center ran out of beds, forcing many to sleep on the ground outside. Why don't we build them refugee cities in the countries they're coming from? Oh, wait, because the United States blows them up. Boeing makes 15,000 bombs a year, and we have to sell every one of them. Unbelievable evil coming out of the United States. So Rotterdam is having to house hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian refugees, arriving imminently. Ahmed Abatulabed, a Muslim immigrant and social democrat, saw the opportunity in the Volendam, Holland, America, 780-foot-long, 9-deck cruise ship that was conveniently empty and ported in Rotterdam with a room for 1,500 passengers, not including the crew. The Seattle-based cruise company quickly agreed to the 6-month charter. Sure, you can pay us. Elma Jones, Abu Talib's chief of staff, was also put in charge of the frantic operation. In 1 minute, I went from manager of the mayor's office to the manager of the Volendam. They decided to bring 1,300 refugees onto a ship that can hold 1,500 people. Wow, that's pretty good. That covered the refugees' lodging, food, and personal allowances at 55 euros per month. Only its casino, pool, and high-end steak restaurant were closed. Well, I can see why they closed the casino, the pool, and the high-end steak restaurant. The pool costs a lot of money. The steak restaurant costs a lot of money, and the casino costs a lot of money. And they don't have that money. They're refugees, remember? The Dutch Salvation Army provided 50 social workers to serve on the Ukrainians' first point of contact for any issues on board. So the Salvation Army got in there, and they got staffers on the ship. Well, that's kind of a nice way to come into Holland, right? Why not? They're going to shut all the farms down, and there won't be any food there. The ship felt like a village. Women received news that their houses had been destroyed or their husbands were killed. Someone was diagnosed with breast cancer. Of course, they never fed her seaweed. And a couple got divorced. There were joyful moments, too, like the birth of 2 children. One night, the refugees... I wonder what citizenship they are if they're born in the middle of the ocean. Huh. One night, the refugees put on a performance in the 650-seat theater with children singing Ukrainian songs. That's kind of cool. But there was one factor above all made the ship living bearable. The refugees could legally stay and work in the Netherlands for up to 3 years under the rules enacted across the EU. Well, that's cool. As soon as they got off the Volendam, they could get a job. You know, we thought maybe the war will be quickly over and we'll get to go back. Nope, the United States has sold over $100 billion of weapons to the Ukraine. 9 out of $10 have gone to supply weapons to non-Ukrainians. However, the same privileges haven't been afforded to refugee groups who arrived earlier, including those from countries like Syria, Afghan, Somalia, and Nigeria, were importing black Muslims into Europe, just like the Jesuits said they would do. Some of them are in Rotterdam, living on smaller river cruise boats that can house around 150 people each. The double standard troubles her. These migrants who fled war and persecution are not allowed to do anything. It's really depressing for everyone. They're not allowed to have a job. That's insane. So Janice was surprised at how many buildings were empty. She said it was real easy to add shared kitchens and bathrooms to the spaces in a few months' time. We had thousands of beds in different buildings. So there are hundreds and hundreds of empty buildings in Rotterdam, and they're thinking, well, maybe we should turn this into housing for refugees. But we're not going to house the homeless in Holland. We're going to house the refugees, but not our own homeless. We're not going to even house our own veterans, but we will house the refugees. Mayor Adams announced to set reforms that expanded eligibility for city FA welfare and housing vouchers. You know, they can build housing vouchers for immigrants. They can build the projects for the blacks. Of course, they put them all on toxic waste dumps. But they can't build housing projects for the homeless. They can have rat-infested buildings. He won in court. But there's still rats there. So as we bring the immigrants in mass, as the 10 million immigrants settle into America, 10 million immigrants since Biden took office. That's what 45 estimated. As we bring these migrants into America, we can house them. We can build refugee projects for them. But we can't build any for the homeless. We can't build any for the homeless. That's insane. We can build houses for these refugees, put them on cruise ships, but we can't. Oh, wait. Only Europe's smart enough to do that. Without more robust housing reform, cruise ships will likely remain an option for cities grappling with sudden surges of migrants. Amsterdam official recently called Jonas to ask for his advice at launching their own cruise ship housing initiative for migrants. It solves your problem quick, but it's a short-term solution. I really think that it's not healthy to keep people a year in a boat's cabin with everything taken care of for you. It's a strange way of living. You don't have to work. A man that doesn't work doesn't eat. Anyway, so there he is. Mayor Adams thought about doing it, but instead gave the owner of New York City, I think it's $7 billion, actually closer to $10 billion. Look at their comprehensive annual financial report. Seattle, $7 billion. New York City's $10 billion. You can't build housing for immigrants. The owner of the city of New York wants us $10 billion. You can't build roads. I want my money. So in violation of federal, city, county, state laws, they gave the owner of the city of New York billions, while all these refugees coming in don't have housing, or the homeless. And what happened, Major Eric Adams, to the $4,000 per homeless that you get every month? 20,000 immigrants, that's $1 billion a year. Or 20,000 homeless, that's $1 billion a year. Oh, I'm sorry, you gave it to the owners of the city of New York. I'm sorry, I looked at your comprehensive annual financial report. Liar, cheater, and thief. And traitor. But in Europe, they saw the light and they're housing them. Anyway, these are Ukrainians. They're going to be grateful. They're not going to complain. The Somalis, the Afghans, the Nigerians, they're going to complain, but not the Ukrainians. They see the food and the electricity and they can work on a computer. Hey, what can you say? God bless. Thank you very much. We appreciate each and every one of you. We encourage you, immigrants. This is family friendly because we're warning America what's coming and America can get ready. God bless. Thank you very much. Oops. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.